There you go.
That's why they changed the name to First
They
Ministries.
did. That's right. Yeah. They don't want you visiting what they call a St. Matthew's Cathedral, right? You heard about that one. Yeah, St. Matthew's Cathedral. Well,
St. Mattress.
oh boy. Well, I tell you we've sort of been up here, at sort of the 10,000 elevation level for the last few sessions, and actually this one is kind of there too, but I wanted to bring it down a notch because really what I like to do. Yeah, we gotta hit with the nuts and bolts. I want you to be able to take something back that's practical you can implement right. We can talk about the broad principles and outline the parameters and talk about a paradigm and structure. But I'd like to be able to share a little bit too from our experience, things that work, that haven't worked. We can learn from our mistakes and failures too, don't we?
That's right.
And there's nothing wrong with trying something and realizing, hey, I won't do that again, So we'll look at some things like that. So this presentation doesn't go there, but I'm going to intermingle and sprinkle it with some stuff. And I want it to be a little more interactive. So if you have some things you wanted to ask or share, let's do that. Is that okay?
Right.
Yeah, we can do that. By the way, I want to thank Elder Freeman again, for the invitation and setting this up. All of what we share is available. This presentation, the one we did Sabbath, the PowerPoint presentation, you guys are certainly welcome to it. We can arrange to get it to any of you if you like it. And so we can go in. I think, did we have prayer? We started out.
Yes, we
Okay.
can get enough prayer. So.
That's right. Yeah. Let's do it again. Let's pause and bow our heads. Lord, we thank you again for this evening. We pray you would bless us now as we continue with this session. It's our prayer in your name. Amen.
Amen.
How many of you all heard of Real Truth?
Oh, yeah.
Real Truth Ministries. They did a lot of work here, didn't they?
That's right.
Yeah, L Scales. Years ago, when evangelist Tim Lewis worked with that ministry, we had the opportunity to develop. I wrote a series of lessons, real truth lessons. We didn't call them real truth lessons. It's the next generation of lessons. We call it the Bible Survey Series. And we did that years ago. Conference evangelists around the country began using those series and had a lot of success with them. And I was trying to, I did that.
I use it now.
Really? You still do? That must have been good night, probably 20 years ago. But
Good introduction.
yeah, the original lessons, the original Real Truth lessons, we had all kinds of series, right? We had the basic, we had the family, then we had a health series, right? Yeah. You guys use them?
We got something at home now.
Do you got some?
I got some too.
I should have asked y'all to bring them, because I can't find mine. Did you? They still sell them at ABC? The last series we did was not as popular as the earlier versions, the basic, the health, but we did one called the Bible Survey Series. And the reason why is because we wanted to, along with using the pre-work lessons to get to know, to make it personal, to get a chance to have a relationship with the folk we're trying to reach. This particular series, and I'll tell you about it, but if you're interested, I will do my best to try to find it and get it to you. Matter of fact, I know what I can do. I can call some of the evangelists that have been using it, that are still using it, and get it to you that way. This is only if you're interested. And I'll tell you the difference between the one we developed and the earlier versions. The earlier versions were topical lessons, right? If you remember that, they had one on Bible, then we had one on God, had one on say just really basic lessons. That is, there were 8 lessons or 4, and you could do 4 or 8. The last one we did, it was based around the concept of the great controversy. great controversy theme and it was done in a narrative form. And the reason why we developed it because of the people we were trying to reach. Most of the folk that the real truth lessons were designed for were people that look like us.
That's right.
All right.
That's good truth.
You got it? Okay. Good. Okay, great. Now we got one here. You guys have the older ones that were cut in half. They were the half a sheet of paper and a green with the, yeah. Wow, the ones that the last one we developed is like that too. But I'm gonna tell you why the ones I think that the last ones we did were so successful, and that is because these lessons were really, I don't know how else to say this. It was really an excuse to get to know someone.
That's right.
You know, these are basic lessons,
Yes.
and you know, we may take them for granted because you know we may feel like it's simple or simplistic for us, but really, I'm telling you, you know, for someone who doesn't have an acquaintance with the Bible,
That's right. Perfect.
these are beautiful lessons.
Perfect.
But what the great controversy theme, let's call the Bible survey series, what they did, they introduced people before they even knew who we were. We were introducing them to the whole great controversy theme. And we would start, and they weren't topical, it was in narrative form. In other words, you did lesson one and you went to lesson two. All of the great controversy theme was in each of the 8 lessons. Actually, there are 4 lessons. And they were not topical. Again, for those of you, I don't know if anyone done any work in social workers or counseling. I love psychotherapy. We designed the lessons so that we call them whole brain centered. Some people are left brain, some people are right brain, some are more cerebral, some are more emotional, right? Some folks are analytical in their thinking, some folks think in pictures, right? The lessons were designed to reach everyone. And from a cultural perspective, we're more story oriented, we're more narrative. Matter of fact, they even did it with the Amazing Facts lessons.
Yeah.
They changed the Amazing Facts lessons to reflect more of a story form, right? You can get both versions. We did basically the same concept, the same idea. And we added another element because, again, we're reaching folk that look like us, so we love stories. So we gathered a great controversy. People talked about Adam, you know, in the garden, and you know, the fall. So we went through the creation, we went through the cross, the basic great controversy theme in 4 lessons. And like I said, it's not that popular. They didn't have the kind of thrust that the earlier lessons did. But of course, Elder Scales was retiring at that time, and the ministry was kind of in transition. But I wanted to be able to share those with you because they're designed to do 2 things. Again, to get to know people, kind of get a relationship, but also to introduce them to the basic theme of the great controversy. And in that vein, one of the things, do you guys, a part of our great controversy theme, there are some things that we traditionally haven't been able to share directly from Scripture. That's a part of the great controversy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? The whole aspect of Lucifer and his fall. Now you can put some text together in Isaiah, right? Revelation, I call them the devil text, right? Revelation 12, Ezekiel 28. And by the way, you know how to get the verse in Ezekiel. If you look at the 3 devil texts, Revelation 12, Ezekiel, and Isaiah, right? You start in Revelation, because Revelation 12, 7 to 9, right? Revelation 12, 7 to 9, there was war in heaven. The dragon was fought, Michael was fought, they were kicked out of heaven, right? And then you can go from there, and you can now Revelation 12 was that one. And Isaiah 14 was the other one, right? Around verse 12. So you can go to that one next, you know, where the devil has an eye problem. You know, I will sit upon the mountain in the sides of the north. I will, I will be like the Most High. You know, we learn from there that the devil had an eye problem. You know, really, of course, you spell the word sin, You know, I is in the middle. That's like you got to spell S-I-N, right? I is also in the middle of pride, P-R-I-D-E, right? You can get off into all of that. And then you can go to Ezekiel 28. It shares a little bit more insight there in terms of his position and authority. But now, the way you get to you remember the text, Isaiah 14 is one. What's 14 double?
28.
That's the chapter of Ezekiel. Ezekiel 28.
Right.
Yeah. The way you get to the verses, cut it back in half again. 14. You go back, you go to Ezekiel 28, 14. But there's all kinds of interesting ways, pneumatic devices to remember where the text is found. The scriptures say that we are to be prepared in season and out of season. Right? To be prepared in season means basically, you know, your appointment or your connection with an individual was planned, right? It was planned out. Out of season witnessing opportunities are those you may be in a grocery store and you don't have any literature or things with you, but you want to be able to give them something. There ought to be some basic text, a text or something, informally, not formally. You can have it on a card and put the text on the back or write it on the back. One of the things my sister did this years ago. She developed these memory devices, ways to remember where all the texts are found, where a lot of scriptures are found. You know, again, without trying to emphasize, you know, the text, people would rather see it lived out in our life.
Oh, yes.
That's right.
Yeah. But just because living it out is more important than saying it, it doesn't mean you shouldn't be able to say it.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
and I've seen that. I've seen folks emphasize one or the other. Either you got folks that are all about, you know, giving the Bible study and not worrying about how they behave before unbelievers. Or you got folks who are into, you know, let's just live the life, but they don't share anything.
Right.
You know, they can't tell you where, you know, John 3:16 is. And so we've got to have a balance of both. So as in boot camp, while we're here, I want us to, I think it's important to emphasize that we're not neglecting one or the other. We want to do both. We need to witness through our lifestyle, as well as witnessing through some of the more traditional means that we have, using scripture, engaging in Bible studies and Bible lessons. And you know, that's not something we should leave to the pastor.
All right.
Right? You guys, I'm preaching to the choir. You guys wouldn't be here if you didn't already believe that. It's a work that God has called us all to do. And I still get calls. I get calls now asking about, you know, text and how to find them. And to me, I'm going to tell you, it's not as important to remember where the texts are found if you have a relationship with someone. Because if you don't remember, what can you do? You can admit it. Say, you know what, there's this text I wanted to share with you. Let me get your number, I'll get back with you. There are some things, there are some concepts and principles that others have developed, so I'm going to be sprinkling stuff from Real Truth. I'm going to share some stuff from Elder Patrick Vincent, who's down in the Southeastern Conference, the SWAT program, worked with him. When I joined the church, he did a presentation for Northeastern Conference back in 82, I think, 83. Man, it was a long time ago. But that's a program, that's another program. Are you guys familiar with SWAT? Soul Winning Action Teams?
Yeah.
Man, that's power, that's good stuff. Good stuff.
It just so happens we have a SWAT team, but since I go to Shiloh, the Shiloh witnessing action team.
Yeah, yeah. Let me tell you, he used to pastor in Ephesus in Birmingham, right? Elder Vincent.
That's right.
I went there about a month ago. Now, in that program, all the members are trained to greet folk in the parking lot, to the pew. Yeah, let me tell you what they do. Whichever pew, and they all know, you know who the visitors are when they come to your church. If a visitor is sitting on this pew, all of the members that are sitting along that pew on both sides know to be praying for that visitor.
Wow.
That's where it starts with prayer. After or sometime during the course of the service, they also, and this is intentional personal ministry. And I did this in my churches. One of the one of the folks, whoever's nearby, will invite them home to eat.
All right.
If they're not having, fellowship meal at the church that day, they're coming home. They're going to get an invitation to come home with somebody. I found this out, and I started implementing this from someone else. It's not original with me. We added something, a different element to that. Because if you have visitors at your church, how do you get them to come back the next Saturday? Without, trying to feel like you're kind of crowding them out. You want to give them some freedom, right? Here's what you do. The whole pew is praying for that visitor. Someone nearby is going to invite them to dinner. Everybody on the pew knows that they're getting an invitation to dinner. Right? So somebody else comes up afterwards, after the service, and asks them, or extends to them an invitation to come to dinner with them. What's their response? What are they going to say?
I can't come.
I can't come. I already got an invitation. Well, you already know that because somebody already asked. So I'll tell you what, you just come with me next week. You got it. I'm sure you got it. You got it. Now, you didn't ask them to come to church.
Wow.
You just asked them to come back to dinner next week, right? But in order to come to dinner, guess where they got to come? They're coming back to church. They're coming back to church. These are just little helpful ideas to be more relational with people. It's not about the Bible study. What we found in terms of the retention level, that Dudley, I can't remember his first name. Roger Dudley. Yes, he did all kinds of studies on retention levels and why people leave, why Adventists leave, why members leave the church. And what they have found, and it's been consistent through the years, he's done this study continuously, and what he's found is that the majority of members, of our members who leave the church, do not leave necessarily for doctrinal issues. It's for fellowship. And it's down to a science. I mean, literally, here's the standard. If an Adventist, a new Adventist, does not meet or have significant relationship with 5 to 7 members in the first 12 months, chances are they'll go.
Wow.
Interestingly enough, there's a fella that wrote The Purpose-Driven Life. You guys see, what's his name?
Warren.
Yeah,
Rick Warren.
I met Rick Warren. We had some conversation out in California. He was after he came to a pastor's conference. We got a chance to chat. And he has some folks that do those same kinds of studies. They found the same thing.
Wow.
Before he wrote The Purpose-Driven Life, he wrote those principles down in the book. And he gave them a nice little coin phrase. I'm going to borrow it and share it with you. But it's the same thing. In order for folks to find real significance and relationship in the church, they have to believe and they have to belong. It's believing and belonging. Believing has to do with the teachings, the doctrinal stuff, right? But belonging has to do with the relationships. And if a new believer in Christ, and in our case, if a new member to the church has both, they have a good solid foundation in terms of the doctrinal understanding of the teachings of the church, and they've developed a significant relationship with 5 to 7 members, chances are they're not going anywhere.
That's right.
They're not going anywhere. I'm so glad I learned some of this early on. If I hadn't, I probably wouldn't be married. I'm going to tell you the story. You want to hear the story?
Yes.
I pastored in Mississippi, and I had my first wife passed away. She had cancer, and I was unmarried for a couple of years, and I tell you, those were rough 2 years. Being a single preacher, I had a little son. He wasn't even 2 years old yet. And so I was a single father. I didn't want to, they were telling me, well, let someone take care. I want to take care of my son. So I'm changing diapers and all that stuff, finding folks to help. And at any rate, I had baptized a few saints, a few folks a little earlier that year. And one of them was a single young lady. And she had children. And she was good with kids. When I would leave town, I'd leave my son with her. And what happened was, I offered a Revelation seminar in town. That's how she got baptized. I baptized her. And one of and just as she was in the midst of doing the Bible studies, the church had a social event out in Meridian, Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't know anything about the health message. She came into the gym with her ham and, or turkey. And one of the members told her, you can't have that in here. But she didn't know. But they told her in such a way that just kind of, they didn't have, she was,
Okay.
yeah. So they went outside and ate in the car.
That's no good.
But they did come back. And I'm glad they did. Because she's my wife today. And let me tell you, you have to be careful the way we talk to people. Something may be right, but it's something you just don't, it's not that deep. I don't know how many folk we run away, trying to force feed new believers meat when they still need milk.
Right.
And if we could only think about where we came from.
Yes, sir.
Y'all know how some of y'all were. But I know where I was. I didn't have a church background. And so I'm coming in off the street, and I got a lot of stuff the Lord has to kind of work out of me as a teenager. Because the church I came into was very conservative. And they didn't really know how to talk to young folks about stuff. We were there because, the Lord, oversaw a lot of that for us. And I remember in the 80s when I came in, rap music was just kind of getting on the scene. You guys don't know anything about rap, do you? Yeah. And I was in New York. So we the Sugar Hill Gang and Big Daddy Kane and hip hop, don't stop rocking to the bang bang boogies, up jump to the boogie to the rhythm of the boogie to the beat. I knew all of that stuff. I had the stuff there. Matter of fact, my brother and I, we would perform the early stuff that came out from from Sugar Hill Gang in upstate New York. We go to dances and all that stuff, and folks love to hear us. And it's like a semi version of Sugar Hill because they stayed in the city. And one evening, we were, thinking about, and at this time we got an invitation to come to the church. And we grew up, for the most part, in a predominantly Caucasian neighborhood. My mom grew up in the Adventist church. She didn't raise us that way. She had left herself years ago. My grandmother was a member, but we weren't. And our family wasn't. We ate everything we wanted to eat, did everything we wanted to do. And a young lady at school, I was trying to talk to her, trying to, rap to her. Mm-hmm. And I like a challenge. And I tried to talk to her, and she started throwing Jesus at me. I didn't know anything about it. I'm off the street, I don't know anything about that stuff. But I said, I know what she's trying to do. She's trying to run me away, thinking she's going to talk about God. And so she asked me, said, what church you go to? And I said, which one you go to? And she said she was a Seventh-day Adventist. My only connection with Seventh-day Adventism was my grandmother. Whenever we visit my grandmother, she'd make us go to church on Saturday with her. My cousin went to church on Sunday at a Pentecostal church. Mm-hmm. And I said, yeah. I said, I'm one of them. I'm one of them too. She knew better, right? Yeah, right. So she asked me, she said, when is the last time you kept the Sabbath? Well, I had no idea what a Sabbath was. She got me there. I said, I don't know. What are you talking about? What's a Sabbath? What is that about? And she invited me to church. Wow. So I went home and told my mom about it. I said, Mom, I was thinking about, church. So didn't you say you went to this Adventist church, And I didn't know. There was something my mother needed, some kind of information, but one of the elders from the church in upstate New York could help her out with it. He was an older elder, and everyone loved him, Elder Maddox. And many of you from Northeastern Conference you may have heard of him. But that, I didn't realize that prior to me asking my mom about going to church, he had talked to her and challenged her. He said, you know
Wow.
the truth. You were raised up in this thing.
Wow.
Why don't you, even if you don't go, take your kids to church.
Wow. Wow.
So when I came home that evening and
Wow.
shared that with her, it was like,
God, yeah.
yeah, oh my goodness. I could see her, confused. That was the Spirit of God working on her. And so the next Sabbath, we all went. We went to the Kingston Seventh-day Adventist Church in upstate New York, the Catskills. It took us an hour to get there. There was no church near us. We were in Mount Airy. So 6 months later, we were baptized.
Man.
We did not know that each of us, it wasn't planned, we didn't know that each of us would make a stand the same day. A local elder preached, and we took our stand. Yeah, it was beautiful, beautiful. As a matter of fact, the young lady that I was trying to, talk to, I ended up ministering to her as one young person to another. Shortly after we were baptized, she drank about a half a cup of Clorox. Tried to commit suicide.
Wow.
Was going through stuff, and so we had a chance to minister to her. And it was her uncle that preached the sermon in which we took our stand.
Wow.
So I said, when I say all that, I said all that to say, it's about relationships. We're still friends to this day. When I go up back home to our home church, they give me an opportunity to share or speak or what have you. Those relationships have endured over 30 years. It's been over 30 years now. But when people join the church, they need to come in connection with other people. And we need to exercise disinterested benevolence, genuine love, and patience, realizing that God was patient with us. And still is. Right? Still is. So if you need help trying to, maintain that connection and how to minister to new folks coming in, just think about your own experience and what that was like. Unless, of course, you were brought up in the church. And there's nothing, you can go either direction. But were some of you raised in the Adventist church from youth? Yeah. Sometimes that could be a little challenging, I would imagine. I don't know. I mean, I that wasn't my experience. But even if you were, you still had to make a decision. That's right. Just because you were born into a family who were Adventists, it doesn't mean that you just automatically gravitated, right? As a child or a young adult, right? You had to make that decision yourself. Yeah. So that's always helpful to do. Always to reflect back on your own experience and realize, hey, we're all in this thing together. Again, believe and belong. Get the teachings down, but we also have to develop relationships and not be afraid to be vulnerable with each other and to share kind of where we are. Because none of us have arrived. Before we transition, I'm going to ask any questions, comments. I said I would, get me going. Questions, comments. Tell me about your own experience. Anyone have an example? Or I can see some of you thinking about, yes.
Yeah, we had a baptism in 13, and I'm working with this one brother, and there was a preacher locked up inside of him, but he's trying to drown it with alcohol. And so see, I'm an alcoholic and a drug addict too, but my choice every day is not to use, and see, like sometimes like I say, sometimes I have become pretty straightforward, because he'd always want to call me when he'd been drinking. I said, don't call me when you're drinking now. because you won't let me talk. In other words, and then when he's sober, he can hear something. Last, I got to go to prayer meeting with him last Wednesday, and he had been drinking, but he wasn't, he wasn't all over the place. But when he went to prayer meeting, he wanted to stand up and teach the people and everything. I had to keep telling him. I said, let the teacher teach. In other words, but the thing about it, he sometimes, but when he gets intoxicated, he blames everybody else for his situation and everything. And he said the city of Thomason is the devil's city, and he's from New York.
Hot cold kettle black, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But you know what? I've been reading about the life of Jesus, and I know if he could let Sarah bring forth a child with a closed womb at 90 years old, and even so much closer what he done for me. See, like I say, I spent 23 years in Texas and everything, and it wasn't a real good 23 years. And I would say, so what I'm saying, I got great faith in what God would do for you and everything, but sometimes I'm tempted to give up. But what keeps me from giving up? I know I feel like I'm the hard-headedest man God ever created. I'm real stubborn because I want to see with this brother, he wants to do it his way, and he hasn't bought the concept of surrender and everything. And so when we had this baptism, and we're all at this now. Sometimes we interested in numbers. We baptized about 33 people, and now we only got a half of one left. Like I say, all we did was give him the truth and getting wet and everything. It was a start. And everything, but I just want to know if anybody can kind of you can give me some other ideas with it, because I know if God can change me, He can do anything. Like I said, and that's really putting on a real small scale. See, but what I'm saying is that there's hope for him and everything, but. I just ask for counsel for myself and counsel that I might be able to give him.
Well, that's good. Good. We appreciate you sharing. Well, one of the things, like I said, when we think back on our own experience and where we came from, that helps us. It should help to generate some level of tolerance and patience. Now, with challenging, and if you don't think you can do it, don't do it. But I listen to him when he's drunk. Folks share a whole lot of good stuff, man, when they're drunk.
They say it's sober minded.
Yeah, man, something they wouldn't normally say and talk about. I know my dad, for example. He never joined the church. He barely stayed sober. But stuff that was inside, and it's hard for guys to communicate anyway. Yeah. I'm not suggesting we resort to that, but
I understand.
but he would open up, and there were things I learned or we'd share that I wouldn't share or learn otherwise. But whatever that struggle is that he's going through, let me tell you, I've been there too. Before I joined the church, I used to sell and use, but most people use drugs as a way to bury emotional pain. Yeah. For most folks that are struggling through life, it's not about entertainment. It's not about recreation. It's a street anesthetic. It's a way to bury pain. That's not for everyone, but for a lot of our folk it is. And if there's another alternative that's healthier than resorting to, to alcohol and drugs, hey, we could provide that for them. So, yeah, it's just something to think about.
I just add something else. I know with me,
Yeah.
I use it to try to find satisfaction.
Yeah.
In other words, I have an enormous appetite of satisfaction.
Yeah.
And Jesus is the only one
There you go.
that feeds my satisfaction. But what I have to do,
Yeah.
I have to grind every day, because if I don't grind every day, like I say, I won't be satisfied.
It's like the evil spirits that were cast out and 7 more coming.
Yes.
You have
It's
to
happened
feel
to
it.
me before.
That's right.
And I was telling him, and see, like this brother, he has a appetite for satisfaction. And like I say, it's into this, he got to go into it, correctly. Like I said, because an addict has a large appetite for thrill seeking, and there's no more thrills greater than being in Jesus.
That's right. That's right. Very good. We appreciate you sharing. I think I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was, my hand was up because I was listening to him and then listening to what you said. Relationship, at least he's coming to him.
That's right.
Because he's looking for a relationship, and at least he's talking to him, so something.
That's a
listen
start.
to him, that's a sign, listen to him. And then every now and then the Holy Spirit can give you some words to get in there that way.
Yes, ma'am.
And I think if you listen to what you said, listen to him, and then maybe continue to pray for him, then develop a relationship. And when the Holy Spirit convicts him, then when he's the type of person that once he get in there, he'll probably one of the ones that stays, because he has already started a relationship with somebody.
Yeah.
And I think just listen to him. I have a
I'll do a better job at that.
When he's sober, he